Senator Brockman. We'll now move to question time, and Senator Farrell.
Thank you. President, I seek leave to make a statement concerning ministerial arrangements for question time.
Is leave granted? Leave is granted. Senator Farrell.
I wish to advise to ministerial arrangements. Senator Wong will be absent from question time today and tomorrow on account of ministerial business overseas. In the absence of Senator Wong, I will be the acting leader of the government in the Senate, and ministers will represent portfolios at question time in accordance with the letter circulated to the President and party leaders and independent senators.
Thank you, Senator Farrell. Senator Patterson.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Treasurer, Senator Gallagher. Today, the inflation rate jumped to 3.2%. Does the government admit that having spending growth running at 4 times the rate of the economy, debt set to reach $1.2 trillion is fuelling inflation and hurting all Australians?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Patterson for the question. I'm glad to get a question on the economy. We haven't had one for a while from the opposition, so I am very pleased to get one. And I would say it's interesting to get a question from the party that went to the last election going to increase the taxes on every single 14 million employees, workers in this country, who went to the election with bigger deficits, higher taxes and bigger debt because they were going to borrow billions of dollars to raise electricity prices through the delivery of nuclear power stations. And I also note the inflation challenge that we inherited from those opposite. Well, I know you don't like the facts when it comes to the economic record, but when we came to government, inflation was running at 6.1%. It peaked in the December quarter of that year. It peaked in the December quarter of that year. Inflation running at 6.1%. We had massive deficits for the foreseeable future. What we have done is repaired the budget, got rid of the waste, returned the upside from the revenue that we've received to budget repair, and significantly lowered inflation, working hand-in-hand with the Reserve Bank to ensure that we did get inflation back into band. Now, we have seen inflation tick up in the results that we've seen for the September quarter, but when we look at, and I know those opposite were obsessed with trimmed mean inflation, underlying inflation has now been between 2% and 3% for 3 consecutive quarters, and it is higher than we'd like, but it's about half of what we inherited.
Thank you, Minister Gallagher.
What we inherited
the time for
from those
has
opposite.
expired. Senator Patterson, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. As part of the inflation figures today, we learn that electricity costs are up annually 23.6%. What does the minister say to those Australians who will be paying higher power prices and struggling with higher interest rates because of the inflation your out-of-control spending is fuelling?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Gallagher.
Well, what I would say to households across Australia is that this government has your back. We are the ones that have put in place energy bill rebates as we go through some of the energy transition. And what I would also say is that the decade of those opposite wringing their hands and failing to land an energy policy, which they still can't do in opposition, has contributed to the situation we find ourselves in now. 24 of the nation's 28 ageing coal-fired power stations announced they were closing within the decade under the former government. We saw energy generation leave the grid. We have ensured that that is getting back on track with gigawatts of energy coming back in. Those opposite failed the Australian community when it came to planning for our energy needs. This government is responsible. We're the ones that are dealing with it, whilst you continue to kill yourselves over energy.
Senator Patterson, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. The Governor of the Reserve Bank has recently warned that government spending is growing very quickly, with substantial deficits projected into the foreseeable future. The government now has higher inflation, out-of-control spending, record debt and higher unemployment. When will you admit that your economic management has failed and change your reckless policies?
Thank you, Senator Patterson. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you. Well, that coming from the spokesperson whose party took bigger deficits, bigger debt, who was going to savage public servants in order to pay for a failed energy policy, to come in here and start showing concern now. Well, we have turned 2 Liberal deficits into 2 Labor surpluses. We know that that hurts you. We have significantly reduced the deficit in the final budget outcome for the last financial year. We are dealing with areas of neglect that you failed consistently over 10 years to deal with it, whether it be in energy, whether it be in the NDIS, whether it be in aged care, whether it be in Medicare, whether it be in infrastructure. Everywhere you looked across government, you were ignoring the pressures facing the Australian economy, and we are dealing with it. We're dealing with it in a responsible way. We're being upfront and honest about these pressures, and we're repairing the budget at the same time.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Before I come to you, Senator Ghosh, I will draw to the attention of honourable senators the presence in the gallery of a parliamentary delegation from the Parliament of the Republic of Estonia's Foreign Affairs Committee. On behalf of all senators, I wish you a warm welcome to Australia and in particular to the Senate. Senator Ghosh.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Finance, Senator Gallagher. Yesterday, global credit rating agency Fitch reconfirmed Australia's AAA credit rating, endorsing the Albanese government's approach to budget management. How has the government managed budget repair, and why has getting the budget in better shape been central to our fiscal approach?
Thank you, Senator Ghosh. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you very much, President. I thank Senator Ghosh for the question. It's an important one, and another one focusing on the strong budget management that the Albanese Labor government has brought to the task of budget repair and ensuring that the Australian people get the services that they demand and expect. When we came to office, there were huge deficits as far as the eye could see. $1 trillion of Liberal debt in a budget weighed down with waste and rorts. We made progress with quarterly inflation and underlying inflation are coming down and now at 4-year lows. Annual real wages have been growing for 7 consecutive quarters. I didn't include that in my last answer, but again, an important result from the Albanese government's policies to make sure that we got wages moving again. The economy is expanding. Interest rates have been cut 3 times this year. More than 1.1 million jobs have been created since we came to government, a record for any government in any single term. The average unemployment rate is the lowest of any government in 50 years, and when it comes to the budget, turning those 2 Liberal deficits into 2 Labor surpluses, bringing the deficit down to a fifth of what we inherited in our 3rd year. The budget position, I know it hurts you, I know it hurts to hear these facts. The budget position has improved by $209 billion in our first term. Debt is $188 billion lower than was forecast, saving $60 billion, President, in interest costs as a consequence. Real payment growth is estimated to average 1.7% per year, less than half the average under our predecessors. And on top of that, the final budget, from those opposite, zero savings. We've managed to deliver $100 billion in savings across our budgets. We know that you didn't understand about how to make savings, just riddle it with rorts to pay off the National Party. We're doing the hard work.
Senator Ghosh, first supplementary.
The Albanese Labor government is focusing on delivering policies that support Australians, because we know that many cost of living pressures remain a challenge. What practical relief is the government delivering for Australians, and how is this assisting households across the country?
Thank you, Senator Ghosh. Minister Gallagher.
Thank you, President. I thank Senator Ghosh for the supplementary. Well, we start with pay rises, making sure that all minimum and award wage workers actually get a pay rise, and those wages have increased under Labor to over $9,000, increasing the superannuation guarantee to 12%. Paid parental leave expanded to 24 weeks and paid now with super on government PPL. Energy bill relief with $150 off power bills for every household and around 1 million small businesses. And we all remember those voting against it. Remember? Here we are. We need to give households a bit of a hand. And what did those opposite do? No, voted against it. No, didn't support it. And now they are in disarray, divided, visionless shambles that sit before us, arguing about energy policy. And just when you thought that all the people were going to come out and leave some of the discussion for the party room, another one comes out and tells Susan Lee what they really think.
Senator Ghosh, second supplementary.
Dealing with inflation and cost of living pressures has been a priority for this government. What relief has the government delivered to continue to assist households across Australia?
Thank you, Senator Ghosh. Minister Gallagher.
Well, thank you, President. And we accept, and I thank Senator Ghosh for the supplementary, we accept that the job isn't done. We've done a lot in the first term, but there is more to do, which is why this government, as those over there eat themselves and tear the party apart, what we do over here is we work on solutions for the Australian community. We focus on the job of delivery and of making sure that the Australian people understand that their government comes in and works every day for them. We've expanded 5% deposits. We've delivered another pay rise for aged care nurses following the instalment in March. We've cut student debt. We're opening Medicare urgent care clinics and, of course, in the next few days, we will be seeing that bulk billing rate triple, not just for concession card holders and those under the age of 16, but for everyone that goes to the doctor. The incentive for bulk billing will be tripled from the 1st of November. This is a government that focuses on delivery and the Australian people.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Bragg.
Mr. President, thank you very much. My question is to the Minister representing the Prime Minister, Senator Farrell. The Australian National Audit Office has announced it is undertaking a performance audit of the design and the delivery of the Housing Australia Future Fund. As it looks to quote
Order.
And assess the efficiency, effectiveness of the Department of the Treasury's design and delivery of the Housing Australia Future Fund. Minister, why is the government paying up to $1.3 million in some cases for a single home?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Bragg for his question. Well, the first thing I would say about the ANO is that they regularly and routinely investigate all government programs. As a government, one of the things that we did was, of course, to increase the funding to the ANOA in order to ensure that they can properly do their service to the country and audit all of these programs to make sure that ordinary Australians are getting value for the money that they taxpayers invest in this government and in this country. So we're very happy that the ANOA are doing this audit. It's appropriate that they do it.
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Bragg.
Point of order on relevance. The question was quite clearly asking about the cost of the house, in some cases being up to $1.3 million per dwelling, and whether that was good value.
Senator Bragg, you started your question about the Audit Office. The Minister is being directly relevant to your question. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. I've had involvement with a number of ANOA cases, Senator Bragg. One of them was into the PEM system. For years and years and years and years, I asked questions and estimates about how the PEM system was going. I was continuously assured by the former government.
Minister Farrell, please resume your seat. Senator Bragg.
Point of
order.
Here's your top.
Order.
They could have done it quicker.
Point of order on relevance. The question was not about the PEM system. The question was about the $1.3 million house.
Thank you, Senator Bragg. I will direct the Minister back to your question. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. You did ask about ANOA inquiries, Senator Bragg, and I was directly responding to that. But the ANAO commenced this audit more than a month ago, and for a program with the size and the impact of the HAF, it's actually quite normal for a program that size to be the subject to an ANAO investigation. The ANOA performs
thank you, Minister Farrell. The time for answering has expired. Senator Bragg, first supplementary.
Oh, I'll try again. Thank you, President. The HAF scoreboard is not good. It has wasted $10 billion of taxpayer funds to buy 500 homes, and now it's being audited, all while the housing construction collapses around Australia and home prices skyrocket. Does your government still stand behind this failing scheme?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Farrell.
President, and thank you, Senator Bragg, for his first supplementary question. Yes, we do stand by what is a terrific program designed to make up for all of the failures of the former government to deal with the issue of housing shortages in this country. For the first time in more than a decade, you've got a government that recognises that we have a problem with a shortage of housing in this country, but more importantly, recognises that the government has a role in providing more housing, and that's what we have been doing through the HAF system and all of the other programs that we have been introducing to assist particularly young home buyers.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Bragg, second supplementary.
No, thank you very much. Does your government now concede that setting up a massive housing bureaucracy, which has so far failed, is fast becoming Pink Bats 2.0?
Thank you, Senator Bragg. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Bragg for his second supplementary question. No, Senator Bragg, we don't accept that proposition. We recognise the problem. We recognise there's a problem of housing shortages. There's particularly a problem in respect of access of young people to housing, and this is exactly how a government that is responsible and progressive and understands the problem of housing issues in this country should be responding. There is a role. There is a role here when the private sector has failed to produce enough homes. There is a role. There is a role for government to help in this solution. It's not the total solution. It's not the total solution, but it's part of the solution. And our wonderful housing minister, Claire O'Neill, I think is doing a terrific job in progressing this program.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Barbara Pocock.
My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Housing. House prices have risen by more than 25% under Labor. It's getting worse. House prices are rising right now at their fastest rate in 4 years. Rents are up by more than 20%. Rental vacancy rates are at record lows. Labor promised to make housing more affordable, yet on your watch prices are spiking. Supply is too slow, demand is being overheated by tax breaks for wealthy property investors. We've just heard the HAF in disarray, the chair's resigned, the ANO is investigating its failure to deliver, a sure sign the wheels are falling off. Your policies are failing, and it's not like you weren't warned. Your policies are failing. What do you say to all those who are suffering through this housing crisis?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
Well, the Australian Greens political party, always positive, always looking for solutions. You would have thought that after the experience of 2025, when this sort of puerile negativity, hostility to state action in the housing market from the Australian Greens political party delivered them the result that they got, they might have just taken pause for a moment for a moment to consider the electoral and policy implications of what it is that they've been saying? But clearly no. Clearly no. Clearly they're going to continue on the trajectory of relentless negativity, of hostility to government action in this area.
I am going to draw you back to Senator Pocock's question.
Well, so there's certainly a government here with a big agenda in housing. There's certainly, as you pointed to, the proper processes of government unfolding. An Australian National Audit Office process is nothing to be feared. It is a good thing. It is a good thing. They do 50 of them every year. And in my department, I welcome the ANAO into the department. I want them to be engaged with all of the agencies that I have responsibility for, because, do you know what? They improve the performance of government. That is a good thing. That is a good thing. We don't have a glass jaw. What we're focused on is building houses. Building houses in every electorate, including in Brisbane, including in Griffith, all of these places where homes are being built.
Thank you, Minister Ayres. Senator Pocock, first supplementary.
The Australian dream of home ownership is on life support. 30 years ago, it took 4 years on the average income to buy a house. Now it takes more than 8. Your government is supercharging house prices and locking out first-home buyers by refusing to phase out tax breaks. Minister, when will your government finally admit we can't fix the housing crisis without ending the unfair tax handouts, $181 billion over 10 years to wealthy property investors?
Pocock, your time has expired. Senator Pocock, your time has expired. Minister Ayres.
Well, the answer is that this is not a dinner party conversation. This is a policy effort. This is a policy effort to engage seriously with these questions of supply. Now, every moment that the government advances a position, the sort of coalition here, the Greens political party and the Liberal and National Party have got one answer, and that is no. And the truth is that there is no perfect answer. That is why there is a suite of measures. That is why there is.
Minister Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator Pocock.
Relevance. My question is about when will the government address the tax breaks that are flowing to wealthy property investors. I haven't heard a word about it.
Senator Pocock, your question also had an ambit about home ownership and historical data and so on, and the minister is being relevant to your question. Minister Ayres.
Well, and that's what I meant when I said dinner party conversation. Right? Dinner party conversation, not serious effort to deal with supply. Now, I know you don't like young Australian people having an opportunity to buy a home for the first time in their lives. I know you want to campaign against it. You love social housing, except when it's been built in your suburb. Like, that is the Greens party position. If you want to keep on with it, keep on with it.
Time for answering has expired. Senator Pocock, second supplementary.
Minister, homelessness has increased by 10% on your watch. In the last 4 years, it's the worst levels in living memory. Your own data tell us there are 9 avoidable deaths every single day amongst people who've experienced homelessness. 9 lives lost daily on Labor's watch. Homelessness is rising. Deaths are mounting. Labor's policies are leaving people to die without a roof over their head. What are you going to do about that?
Thank you, Senator Pocock. Minister Ayres.
Well, President, not only is it what we're going to do about it, it's what we are doing to deal with these challenges. We've introduced incentives for projects that offer long-term leases, and we're working with the states to make renting fairer. Practical outcomes, not bumper stickers. Real policy solutions, not dinner party conversations. As a result, as a result of our work, most states have now banned no grounds evictions and put minimum standards in place. We've delivered back-to-back increases in rent assistance, which is now 45% higher for 1 million Australian households. Now, fundamentally, the answer here—
Minister Ayres, please resume your seat. Senator Pocock.
My question is about homelessness. People who don't have a roof, for whom rent is not even an issue. They're in tents.
Senator Pocock, the minister's being directly relevant to your question. Minister Ayres, please continue.
And of course, ultimately here, these are questions of supply. These are questions of supply, about building more homes in every part of Australia. That's why there is a $43 billion package there.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Cox.
President, my question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Health, Disability and Ageing, Senator McAllister. Delivering cost-of-living relief and affordable health care is a key priority for the Albanese Labor government, and this Saturday, the 1st of November, the government is delivering more bulk billings so more Australians can see a GP for free. How is the government strengthening Medicare and delivering on its commitment to expand bulk billing incentive to deliver better access to health care for all Australians?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McAllister.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Cox. Well, in May, the Australian people voted for a government that would stand up for the principle of universal health care. And the Albanese government made that commitment to the Australian people. And we are keeping it. We are keeping it. On Saturday, the Albanese Labor government's largest ever investment in the history of Medicare, $8.5 billion investment, will start to kick in. And that will expand over time bulk billing and create a new additional incentive payment for practices that bulk bill every payment. It will mean that 9 out of 10 GP visits will be bulk billed by 2030, and fully bulk billed practices will grow in number to around 4,800 across Australia, tripling the number of bulk billing practices. That is what delivering for the Australian people looks like. We've heard already from hundreds and hundreds of practices, and they said that this week they're charging a gap fee. Next week they'll be moving to a fully bulk billed service.
Heads down over there.
Heads down over there. That's how you rebuild Medicare, because the only card you should need when you go to the doctor should be your Medicare card.
That's right.
And in our first term, the Albanese Labor government delivered $3.5 billion in 2023 to restore access to bulk billing for the 11 million patients that it covered. And they're quiet about that one too, because that vital investment was necessary to start to rebuild bulk billing after a decade of coalition neglect. And this Saturday we're taking the next step by delivering the largest ever investment in Medicare to back in universal health care for Australians.
Thank you, Minister McAllister. Senator Cox, first supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. The Albanese government's expansion of bulk billing incentive will deliver one of the biggest systemic changes to Medicare since its inception. What measures has our government taken to assist GPs who want to take advantage of the increase in the bulk billing incentive?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McAllister.
Well, I thank Senator Cox for the question, President, because we know this will be a big change for many general practices across Australia. That's why, in September this year, the government launched a calculator to allow practice managers and GPs to get a more accurate estimate of the financial impacts of moving to a fully bulk billed model. And it provides practice managers and GPs with tailored income assessments based on their consultation mix, their current billing model, their location and concessional patient proportion to support decision-making by comparing different scenarios. It's helping practices and GPs see how mixed billing practices will be better off when they switch to a fully bulk billed model. And that is why we're confident that hundreds of practices will be moving to fully bulk billed services from this weekend, because they know it's good for patients and they know it is good for their bottom line.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Cox, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. When the Albanese Labor government was first elected, the Royal Australian College of General Practitioners described bulk billing rates as, in, I quote, free fall. How have the government's policies affected bulk billing rates, and why has the government taken this approach?
Thank you, Senator Cox. Minister McAllister.
Well, thank you, President. Medicare billing data shows that our record investment in Medicare saw an additional 6 million bulk billed GP visits in the year to December 2024. And it stands in stark contrast, doesn't it, colleagues, to the record of those opposite, because the truth is that there's a reason that bulk billing rates were in freefall, and it was the Coalition's 6-year freeze on the Medicare rebate which ripped billions out of Medicare. And the AMA estimated that the Coalition would have taken $8.3 billion out of Medicare by 27-28 if they'd been allowed to go on. They then tried to hide it. They tried to hide their bulk billing records, inflating the figures by relying on massive numbers of COVID-related bulk billing during the pandemic. But Australians knew the truth. It had never been harder to see a doctor than under the governance of those opposite.
Thank you, Minister McAllister. Senator Tyrrell.
President, my question is for the Minister representing the Minister for Communications, Minister Farrell. For the past few days, we've been debating how to hold Optus and other telecommunication providers to account through the 000 Custodian and Emergency Calling Powers Amendment Bill. We know that regional communities are greatly impacted by the actions of telco providers and outages of their services. Do you think it's important that telco providers follow the legislative requirements of the Telecommunications Consumer Protection and Service Standards Act?
Thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Tyrrell, for her question. Of course, we expect all of the telecommunications operators in this country to comply with all of their obligations, and of course, it has been distressing to see that in recent weeks, of course, with Optus, the failure of that company to be able to provide the 000 services when people need it. But the fact of the matter is that for most calls, of course, 10 million calls are successfully made to the 000 each year. And this government seeks to ensure, with respect, Senator Tyrrell has asked a very respectful question. Would you please give me the opportunity to answer it in a respectful way, in the way that she has asked that question?
Order. Order.
We're an action government. Where we see a problem, where we see a problem, we don't get angry. We seek a solution, and that's exactly what we're trying to do. We're seeking a solution because anger doesn't solve the problem. Action solves the problem. And in the case, can you not?
Senator Hanson-Young, I have called you to order.
Senator Tyrrell is asking a legitimate question that requires a legitimate answer. This government will take action to ensure that the telcos in this country—
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Tyrrell, first supplementary.
So that was yes. On the 18th of September, the government sneakily published its response to the regional telco review more than 9 months after it was provided to the minister. Do you think it's good enough to table a government response more than 9 months after it was provided to the minister?
Thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank you, Senator Tyrrell, for her first supplementary question. What this government tries to do, Senator Tyrrell, is to provide solutions to the problems which we encounter in government, and we do that in a variety of ways. And when we respond to an issue and respond to a report, we want to make sure that we do it in a way which provides the solution that we're looking for. And so, regretfully, in government, sometimes things take longer than you would like them to do. But can I assure you, Senator Tyrrell, and your electors in Tasmania, that this government understands the problems that have been created in recent times by the failure of the 000 service, And as a government, we will act and respond responsibly
to find a
solution.
Has expired. Senator Tyrrell, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. The government's delay to table the report breached its legislative requirements under the Telco Consumer Protection Act, the very same act that it's now seeking to use to hold telco providers to account for emergency call outages. How can we expect the government to hold telco providers to account if it can't even meet its own legislative requirements?
Thank you, Senator Tyrrell. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President, and thank Senator Tyrrell for her second supplementary question. Look, can I assure you, Senator Tyrrell, and your electors in Tasmania that this government is going to do absolutely everything within our power to ensure that all of the telcos meet all of their legislative requirements to provide that service to this country. There's no more important service than in an emergency, the 000 service. We want to ensure that all of the telcos understand their obligations and comply with them, and as a government we will take action to ensure that that's exactly what happens. Again, we've got a terrific minister in this space. She understands all of the issues, and we will find a solution to this problem as we do for so many others.
Senator Brown.
Thank you. Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Housing, Senator Ayres. The Albanese Labor government is delivering on the commitment to build more homes and make it easier for Australians to buy them. On the 1st of October, the 5% deposit scheme was expanded to be available to all first home buyers. How many people have signed up to the scheme under the government, and what parts of the community are benefiting from the expanded scheme?
Minister Ayres.
President, that there's an order question here that perhaps
Yes,
it was Senator Mackenzie's question.
Minister
yes.
Ayres. The opposition advised me they'd change their questions around, so I'm simply following the advice that they gave me. Okay, I did seek clarity. I misunderstood. I beg your pardon. So I'll call Senator Mackenzie. So my apologies to the chamber.
Thank you, Madam President. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Local Government, Senator McCarthy. Yet again we see another 60 Minutes report that continues to expose the ongoing influence of the CFMEU on federally funding projects as part of the Big Build in Victoria. What steps is the Minister taking to ensure hard-working taxpayers' money is not being used to line the pockets of union officials and purchase lavish gifts such as gold bracelets given to former CFMEU official John Perkovic, as seen in the recent 60 Minutes report by Nick Mackenzie?
Thank you, Senator Mackenzie. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, we've said on the record here in the Senate and in the House that we are the party of government who took very strong action in regards to the CFMEU, Senator. And we know, no, this is important.
Senator Mackenzie,
this is important.
You've asked your questions.
You know, everyone deserves to be safe and have their rights respected on building sites. And we came out very strongly in regards to that. We are the government. We are the government who brought this in. No. Senator Mackenzie, you asked a question. We are the government. We are the party that moved to make it safer on work sites. That's right. And we know that the movement of, that the decision by our Prime Minister to do that has enabled that to occur across the country.
Minister McCarthy, please resume your seat. Senator Mackenzie, you have asked your question. Your role now is to listen in silence, not to make running commentary. Minister McCarthy, please continue.
And, President, you know, this side have form. They do have form in wanting to in wanting to forget the fact
Minister McCarthy,
that they had
Minister
nothing
McCarthy,
to do
please,
with wanting to—
Please resume. Senator McKenzie, I have personally asked you not to interject, and you've completely disrespected me by continuing to do so. As I've said before, if you can't listen in silence, leave the chamber. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, as I said, this side have form. They have form in doing nothing. Nothing. They come in this Senate,
Minister
they
McCarthy,
pick up—
please resume your seat. Senator McKenzie.
Point of order on relevance, Madam President. The minister has gone nowhere near the claims made on 60 Minutes, nothing to do with the action and behaviour of the CFMEU on Victorian work sites, and I would ask you to draw the minister to the question.
Senator McKenzie, you asked about government action. The minister is being relevant, and I will continue to listen to her response. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. And I remind the coalition that in doing nothing, you allowed crime to increase at phenomenal rates.
That's exactly right.
At phenomenal rates.
Exactly
and
right.
you come in here, and you pose this question. You pose this question as though you have a real concern for those workers.
Order. Order across the chamber. Order. Minister, please continue.
So you come in here posing this as though you have real concern for questions around workers and workers' rights and workers feeling safe and workers having a future. No, you are not that party. You are not that party. So do not come in here and put that question as to what have we done. What did you not do when you were in government in regards to keeping it safe for workers on those building sites?
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator McKenzie, first supplementary.
I'll try again. Why has the Minister for Infrastructure, Transport, Regional Development and Local Government not reported evidence from the states of corruption and bullying as part of federally funded projects in Victoria by CFMEU officials to the Department of Employment and Workplace Relations and/or to the Fair Work Ombudsman?
Now, I'm going to remind the Senate, I'm going to try to be preemptive. You were heard in silence. When I call the minister, I expect the minister to be heard in silence. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, the minister responsible for IR has been in regular touch with regulators around compliance within the workplace relations system. She's written letters to the relevant regulators and law enforcement agencies, namely the AFP, the Fair Work Commission and the Fair Work Ombudsman, asking them to consider investigating any matters raised by the reporting that is within their jurisdictions. She's received a detailed verbal briefing from the AFP Commissioner regarding Operation Rye, who confirmed that there are a number of active investigations on foot. She's also had a detailed briefing from Mr Irving, who confirms that a detailed strategic plan is being carefully followed, President. And Mr Irving is undertaking his work in a systematic and orderly manner. See, they're not interested. They're not interested, President. They come in here, it's all a con. They come in here pretending they care and they don't.
Thank you, Minister. Senator McKenzie, second supplementary.
When will the minister take appropriate steps to ensure that the stranglehold of the Victorian branch of the CFMEU does not continue to delay the delivery of infrastructure projects in Victoria, such as the North East Link, that have been funded by federal government and hard-working tax-paying Australians' money?
Thank you, Minister. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, clearly the senator didn't hear my response to the previous question in regards to what the minister has done, but I will go further. The administration has already taken significant steps to rid the union and the industry of corruption, including removing or accepting the resignations of— look, you might sit around watching TV, Senator, but our minister is doing a job and she's doing her work. Yes, she is. No, she's doing her work. So, including removing or accepting the resignations of more than 60 staff, developing significant new policies—
Minister McCarthy. Senator Mackenzie, what is it that I need to say to you to get you to be quiet? Your interjections are disorderly and disrespectful, and I've called and I've pleaded with you and I've asked and I've ordered, and you've ignored it all. Leave the chamber if you can't sit here quietly. Minister McCarthy.
Thank you, President. Well, I would gladly repeat that, because the administration has taken significant steps to rid the union and the industry of corruption, including removing or accepting the resignations of more than 60 staff, developing significant new policies and a national code of conduct and statement of expectations for all staff, and establishing several inquiries into state branches of the CFMEU.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for the National Disability Insurance Scheme, Senator McAllister. For many Australians, the NDIS is their lifeline, a system of supports that they rely upon to live a dignified life. For the people who support them, however, life is getting more and more difficult. Costs are going up, yet prices remain frozen. A recent study involving 63 registered NDIS providers found that majority of providers on the NDIS run at a loss. I've met with providers here in the capital and my own constituents in my home state of Western Australia. Minister, what support is the government offering to these providers who are working to provide a better life for our most vulnerable Australians?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister McAllister.
Thank you very much, President. Well, Senator Payman, you raise an important issue in relation to the NDIS, because you are right to identify that this is a world-leading program and one that has substantially changed the lives of many people with disability. And you're right too to observe that the program is dependent on having a workforce and a provider system that is capable of providing high-quality supports that deliver value for money for participants. And I'd add also that in establishing the NDIS, one of Labor's objectives was to generate a level of innovation within that provider community too, so that the range of services that people with disability might be able to access would increase over time, and they'd be able to purchase services that were more aligned to their needs. The pricing in the NDIS really goes to the heart of the question that you asked, Senator, and the pricing for the NDIS is set each year by the NDIS board. It's a board made of eminent persons, many of whom themselves have disability or who have lived experience of disability. The board is conscious that there are opportunities to improve the way that pricing takes place. In the last term, the board sought advice from an independent pricing committee. It's received that advice and it's published that advice. And the advice indicates that there are opportunities for us to move to differentiated pricing, an approach that would recognise some of the features that drive quality in the NDIS service system. The board has also indicated in its most latest pricing, in releasing its most latest pricing guidelines, that it intends to publish a work plan which will step through some of the things that they will be doing to, as they embark upon a process of introducing differentiated pricing.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Payman, first supplementary.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Minister. The word sustainability has featured heavily in the government's rhetoric and language in the past year. According to the Ability Roundtable project, quality therapy providers will run at an average loss of 24.6% this financial year. Does the government believe this situation is sustainable?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister McAllister.
Thank you very much, President, and thanks, Senator Payman, for the question. When we talk about sustainability, and there's a lot of commentary about sustainability in relation to the scheme, we're often talking about its fiscal impacts. And of course, when we came to government, under the governance of those opposite, the scheme was growing at over 20% a year. And that had been the case for some years, and nothing had been done to rein that in or deal with that challenge. When we received the review, the independent review undertaken of the scheme, they acknowledged that this was not sustainable, and if we want a scheme that will last for the long term, we need to deal with that. It doesn't mean, as I indicated in my answer to your primary question, that we should ignore questions around quality. One of the things that we have initiated this year, or the board has initiated this year, is a pilot that will work with quality providers of SIL supports and of therapy supports to understand the drivers of quality in their businesses.
Thank you, Minister. The time for answering has expired. Senator Payman, second supplementary.
Thank you, President. A major issue that's affecting providers is the freezing of prices. As I mentioned in the preamble, therapy support prices have frozen since 2019, but providers' costs have risen dramatically due to rising cost of living and cost of doing business. How long does the government expect therapy support prices to remain frozen for?
Thank you, Senator Payman. Minister McAllister.
Thanks, President, and thanks again, Senator Payman. The board has been very clear about the methodology it's used to set prices, and I think in the question you're asking particularly about therapy prices. This year's pricing review saw the board consider, I think, as many as 10 million different data points from services provided across a range of therapies in different service systems, veteran systems, Medicare, and they used that to benchmark current pricing rates, because the principle that the board articulates, and they're really clear about this, is that people with disability should not pay more for services than other people in the community. And the purpose of undertaking the benchmarking is to understand what prices are being paid in other parts of the community and make sure that the prices being paid within the NDIS don't exceed those. And that's the basis on which the pricing review was set on this occasion.
Thank you, Minister. Senator Brown.
Thank you. Take two. My question is to the Minister representing the Minister for Housing, Senator Ayres. The Albanese Labor government is delivering on its commitment to build more homes and make it easier for Australians to buy them. On the 1st of October, the 5% deposit scheme was expanded to all available first home buyers. How many people have signed up to the scheme under the government, and what parts of the community are benefiting from the expanded scheme?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Minister Ayres.
Well, Senator Brown, thank you very much for that question. A question so good that she asked it twice. On the 1st of October, just a few days ago, the government delivered on its promise to expand the 5% deposit scheme to all first home buyers. That is 3 months ahead of schedule. And, President, I am very proud to tell the Senate that more than 190,000 Australians have brought their own home with a 5% deposit since the Albanese government was elected in 2022. That's around twice as many as under the coalition. And, President, the people that we are delivering for are ordinary Australians, particularly young Australians. Australians who work hard, Australians who just a generation ago would have already been able to expect that they would have been able to own their own home. Saving 20% for a deposit is a massive hurdle for young Australians, particularly when you are renting and paying off somebody else's mortgage. It might be very difficult for some people in this place to understand, but it is a very difficult hurdle to get over. That is why we have expanded the 5% deposit scheme to every Australian first home buyer. No income limits, no limits on places, no complexity, and house price caps that better reflect the cost of a home in every part of Australia. President, it is un-Australian for young people to be locked out of the housing market unless their parents have money. That's not how we do things here. That is not what this government is about. Expanding this scheme is the right thing to do. It is fundamentally fair, and it's made a real difference to young Australians.
Senator Brown, first supplementary.
Thank you. Increasing social and affordable housing is a priority for the Albanese Labor government, and we are determined to build more homes for those who need them the most. How much social housing has the government built under programs like the Housing Australia Future Fund and the Social Housing Accelerator, and what does it mean for Australian families?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Minister Ayres.
Well, 190,000 people, Australians, using the 5% deposits. And I'm pleased to tell Australians that more than 5,000 homes have been delivered with support from this government, from this government, despite delays brought on by the opposition. And more than 25,000 social and affordable homes are in planning or are being built. And, President, these homes are being built in every part of Australia, even Double Bay, Senator, or wherever it is that you hang out, for frontline workers in regional Australia, for women and children fleeing domestic violence, for the people doing the difficult jobs that keep our communities together, because that's what this government does. It delivers for all Australians, no matter your job and no matter your postcode. It's a record of actually building homes, as opposed to the 373.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Brown, second supplementary.
Thank you, Minister. The Albanese Labor government has an ambitious housing agenda that is delivering for all Australians. What challenges does the government face in implementing the agenda?
Thank you, Senator Brown. Minister Ayres.
Well, it's a good supplementary question, and he's right over there. The sort of hot air blowing, home blocking heartbreaker, Senator Bragg, and his colleagues over here. Young Australians who under this government can from the 1st of October grab a 5% deposit and put it on a home for them, their partners and their kids. This character is bringing legislation in here that would take it off them.
Senator Ayres, refer to senators by their correct titles. Please continue.
Senator Bragg, supported by all these characters over here, and I assume by these characters over here, wants to introduce the grab it back provision. Take the homes away, take the opportunity away, take the life chances away, rip opportunity away from young Australians who right now, can look forward to a 5%.
Senator Duniam.
Thank you, President. My question is to the Minister for Industry and Innovation, Senator Ayres. Minister, just minutes before question time, you finally provided a list to the opposition stating that there are at least 7 facilities on the Department of Industry's at-risk register. Can the Minister confirm that there are still 7 facilities at risk in the most recent update the Minister has received, and can the Minister list each of these facilities for the benefit of Australian workers and the protection of their jobs?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Ayres.
Well, I think we have provided some additional information than that was required. I think partly, I have to say, my thinking about this was to stop your friends over here saying that there was 10,007 facilities, the usual sort of hyperbole that characterises the sort of negativity on these issues. I can take you through. We spent some time yesterday. We spent some time yesterday on these questions, and I noticed that there's no more questions about Tomago because the politics for this lot have moved on. It's stopped being a useful. It's stopped being a useful political thing. We'll keep doing the work on these facilities. We'll leave the bumper stickers and the politics to you. We are working our way through a range of large industrial facilities around the country. And in practical terms, I'll take the interjection, Senator Ruston. In your home state of South Australia, what we have done is secure the future of the Port Pirie lead smelter, owned by Nyrstar, owned by Trafigura, with a very significant investment. That lead smelter will, as a result of our support, as a result of your support, you wouldn't have done anything. As a result of the package that we have delivered, will in addition be producing critical minerals for our partners in the United States and anybody else amongst our partners who wants to purchase it. This is a significant investment alongside the steel-making facilities in Whyalla, alongside future AUKUS submarine production, investment in the industrial capability of South Australia. It's about securing the facilities that are under pressure now and making sure that we invest in the jobs of the future.
The time for answering has expired. Senator Duniam, first supplementary.
Thanks, President. Minister, you didn't tell us which facilities were on the list. Is Liberty Bell Bay, which employs hundreds of Tasmanians, on the minister's at-risk list? And is Rio Tinto's smelter in Bell Bay, which also employs hundreds of Tasmanians, on that list too?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Ayres.
Well, as you know, the facilities that are on that Near Port Pirie, which I spent some time talking about before, Near Star Hobart, another facility that we've delivered a very important package for, Tomago, that was the centre of discussions yesterday and will be the focus of our work for a long time to come, Glencore Mount Isa, where we delivered a package of support that has secured industrial capability in northwest Queensland, Dyno Nobel Phosphate Hill, which is a facility that is related to that and in that region,
Ayres,
Liberty
please.
Bell Bay and Bell Bay Aluminium. And I have on both of those issues discussed them in great detail many times with your friend and former colleague Senator Abetz, with the Premier of Tasmania, and with you. And I'll continue to be working very hard on the future of those important facilities.
Senator Duniam, second supplementary.
Thanks, President. Will the minister confirm, given there's been no assurance around the jobs I've asked about, that the only job he's actually created is one for his union mate, former AMWU official Glenn Thompson, appointed to the National Reconstruction Fund Board, the very fund meant to be independent from political interference?
Thank you, Senator Duniam. Minister Ayres.
Well, you know what we'll do is we'll focus on the work in industrial facilities. I'm very pleased with the appointment that you've just referred to. Actually, somebody who's contributed more than everybody here combined to the future of manufacturing in Australia, particularly on AUKUS submarines, particularly on shipbuilding. He's made a real contribution. Your contribution in the last term of government was a former Defence Industry Minister who said Australians couldn't build a canoe. Right? That's the sum of confidence that you lot have in Australian industrial capability, booting the car industry offshore, doing a big fat zero, big fat net zero from your team on industrial capability, on building energy for industry, and on blue-collar jobs.
Thank you,
We'll
Minister
just keep
Ayres.
on with the
The time
work.
for answering has expired. Minister Farrell.
Thank you, President. Can I request that further questions be put onto the notice paper?